ahead.
I'm coming home, yeah, real black and strong.
Welcome to the nation's favorite podcast station, The Broken Link, where we'll make you laugh, cry, and think. And we'll definitely make you understand that shit really does stink.
Wall Street. Colors so loud that when the walls speak as one, black and strong.
Come on.
Like the stories of people on small streets, different and sad, but when they all speak as one, to be black and strong. Like graffiti's on the walls of Wall Street, colors so loud that when the walls speak as one, to be black and strong. Like graffiti's on the walls of Wall Street, colors so loud that when the walls speak, black, strong. Like the stories of the people on small streets, different and sad, but when they all speak as one, to be black and strong.
All right, family, we are live. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
How is this beautiful Sunday that God is waking us up for? How's it going?
It's going great for me.
All right.
I'm ready.
Good evening, Mr. Henshaw. So, I guess we want to get started with some shout outs, because I got a list. And the first one is, we weren't on last week for Father's Day, which was also Juneteenth, right? So I want to shout out to all the dads. We were on for Mother's Day, not Father's Day, which is, I think, the most disrespected day on the calendar. But I was party to disrespecting it last week, but it was situations beyond our control.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Shout out to all the good brothers raising up their young seeds and doing the best they can with what they have. So happy belated Father's Day. Happy belated Juneteenth. Which, on one hand, I'm happy about it. On the other hand, I'm like, what the hell? It took us this long to get it, number one. Number two, you're going to do it like at the 11th hour on Thursday. So companies and people really couldn't celebrate, right? Do it at the last minute. And it's kind of like, whoop, there you go. That's the way we get treated, right?
Yep.
On and on to the break of dawn. That's the way they do us. The other one is certainly want to shout out Simone Biles. That sister is amazing.
Wow. Yes, she is.
She's the best all time, right? I don't think anybody. She goes into this Olympics and cleans out. I don't think anybody's going to be able to touch that young lady. She's amazing.
Yes.
And I want to shout out Clarissa Shields, another one of our sisters out there killing it. Went over to MMA and won her first fight. The girl's got skills either way you go. Now she got to get her grappling game up a little bit, but sister got skills.
Yeah.
And we lost a legend, Clarence Williams III. That guy was he was one of my favorites. So he's playing in the Mod Squad, one of the first blacks to be on a running series for a long time.
The father of Prince in Purple Rain.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. He was also Wesley Snipes' father, right, in New Jack City.
Sugar Hill.
Yeah. And, my favorite role was when he was in Hoodlum up against Lawrence Fishburne. And then they became, partners to take down all the big Italian gangsters.
Tales from the Hood.
Yeah, that was. I think he kind of didn't want to be in that one.
It's a classic, though. I love it.
It's a classic, but it wasn't one of the best ones out there. Certainly want to shout out Rashad and Mickey. Had their birthdays this month. I wanted to do that at that time. We didn't have the opportunity. And then Gwen Berry. Gwen Berry is one of our track and field stars. She's in the Olympic trials. She was in these World Games and she won a bronze medal. Now, all during the week at these trials, they would play the national anthem only once. This sister felt like she was set up because they played it while she was standing up there. And because she's been such an activist for Black Lives Matter, systemic racism, she's been a huge outspoken activist for all of our causes. They decided to play it while she was there. So she turned away from the flag, put her hands on her hip, turned away from it, and just like, you want to disrespect me? I'll show you what that looks like.
Exactly.
Right. So they actually did more damage to themselves than good, trying to hurt that sister. And then
you saw the other two up there just.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And Gervonta Davis, who just won a big time knockout, beat a dude that was like 7 inches taller than him.
Baltimore's finest.
Yeah. I mean, he did his thing.
The tank.
And then last but not least, I want to shout out the prosecutors in the Derek Chauvin trial.
Yeah.
They did their thing, right? Yeah. Without those guys and Mr. Ellison, I think we would not have seen what we saw. They really did their thing. And I want to give a rotten tomatoes backhanded slap to the judge who only gave this dude 22 and a half years when he could have gone as far as 40. Now, some people say, oh, but give him 22 and a half years. That's good. It's progress. I'm sick of the word progress. We need to go from 0 to 100 like they do with us, right? Systemic racism can be wiped out overnight, stroke of a pen, stroke of a president's pen. No, I'm sick of the, we're better off now. Oh, we had one Black president, one Black vice president who I'm almost ready to give her back to them.
Exactly.
Anytime you talk about America's not a racist country, I'm like,
thank you.
Really? You can look yourself in the mirror and say that? Wow. Come on.
Yep.
All right. So that was my lengthy list.
Okay. All right. So we're ready to get to the subject at hand.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yes,
so first, I want to give a public apology. First to the ancestors, and second to all the viewers who look forward to what the subject was and what I was supposed to have been bringing forth. I breezed through a few slides of ancient Kemet, and that was disrespectful. If you're going to tell somebody's story, tell all that you know and tell it right. It's nothing to be.
Yeah, look, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to make sure that anyone who wasn't a part of that or hasn't seen that, they know what you're talking about, right? So we're talking about 2 weeks ago, the last show that we were on, and we had Deacons Henshaws on, and you were bringing forth some knowledge, and they can go back and watch that one. But just want to make sure we give the perspective of where you're coming from.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Because my apologies to them as well. Because like I said, I in a way I cheated everybody out of information that may be detrimental to some. But like I said, also I just want to apologize, and I vow that it will never ever happen again. Okay, because our ancestors, that, like I said, a lot of them couldn't, follow their African traditions because of the circumstances that they were forced in, slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So I will never do that again. Okay, because it's bad enough that we're not taught history, but when you know it, when you learn it, you don't ever hesitate. You be respectful, but you don't ever hesitate, and you don't ever make it seem like it's less than what it was.
Right.
So that will never happen again. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into my slideshow, and I'm going to show you guys the history of when it began as far as our introduction into what a lot of us know is to be Christianity. And before I start, I want to say this. I don't care what you get from this as far as if it opens your eyes. This is not me giving a green light to anybody to be disrespectful towards anybody's beliefs.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
What people believe is what people believe, and they have the right to believe that. And if that makes them the best person that they can be, get out of their way. Do not condemn that in any way. Because I guarantee you, there are people who follow Christianity are some of the greatest people that you could ever meet in your life.
That's it.
And there's a lot of people out there that have the knowledge that are still the most nastiest, cruelest, ignorant people that you can meet.
That's it.
So it's not about what you know, it's who you are. It's what you do with what you know.
Right.
Okay. So,
And
I
so-
just want go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so what you're bringing forward is not to, it's just to share information, to educate. It's information that you vetted yourself. You found it to be reliable,
Yes.
and it's helped to shape and form your beliefs. Now, what Derek is saying is that if some of this information, if it hits home with you, if it piques your interest and you want to, dig into it and vet it more, you can. It's not that he's saying he knows all, and it is, he's going to bring forward some facts that you can actually go and research, and you will find. But if it helps you on your journey, great. If it has no impact at all, that's okay as well. If you have some counterpoints and you want to share them, you want to call in or put them in the comments, please feel free to do that. We've always shared from the beginning that our words aren't law. This is a discussion. These are topics that we talk about in our community all the time. None of us have all the answers. There's no perfect man, woman, or child on this planet. So this is a discussion. This is how we all learn. This is how we all grow. It might, you might hear some things that make you go, You might hear some things that say, yep, I knew that. Why aren't we talking about that more? You may hear some things that's like, oh, wait a minute, I need to look into that a little bit more. All of that is fair game. It's all good. So let's do it. Your show.
All righty, here we go. So the first slide I'm showing you guys is a reference. I'm going to be showing you many references. Okay. If I'm not showing you a reference, I'm showing you an actual artifact. I'm showing you actual documentation. So first, I want to give a shout out to Sonetta Studios. I want to give a shout out to Jabari Osaze, a guy that you will see at the top right corner. He is a scholar. He has done African research, African history research for over 30 years. He is an actual Kemetic priest. And he started out as a Catholic. He was raised as a Catholic. Okay. So he understands the Bible, and he also understands everything that he's learned as far as African history studies. Okay. And he uses to make it easier for people to learn and understand, he will use references from the Bible to show the similarities of it. Because what I'm showing you today is there are things that exist. There is a history of African tradition that is similar to what you are following now. My thing is, and what turned me the other way, turned me a different way was, okay, let me get to the source, because I'm all about the source of what birthed all of these other different things, right? So this one right here is from a book, The Religious Instruction of the Negroes in the United States, written by Charles Colcock Jones. And this is from page 52. It is a matter of astonishment that there should be any objection at all, for the duty of giving religious instruction to our Negroes and the benefits flowing from it should be obvious to all. The benefits we conceive to be incalculably great, and one of them is there will be a greater subordination amongst the Negroes. So the introduction of Christianity in itself, right, was introduced to us via slavery. If you go back in history, any people, nation of people going through a form of oppression, by their oppressor, they were forced or they were introduced their religion, their religious doctrine, okay? Because this was not ours. This is another one that has been documented. But I'm going to go down to the second paragraph, okay? And the next slide is I'm going to show you the actual factual, right? This is a portrait, a picture drawn of our ancestors being baptized before they're exported to America. So exported to different parts of the country, because the transatlantic slave trade was not just slaves going from West Africa to America, okay? It was all over the world. It was going on all over the place, okay? But it says, oh, who can be so blind as not to see the great mercies God has bestowed upon unlearned Negroes through slavery, bringing them into the power of Christian lords who have given them the light of the gospel. Okay, so that should tell you then in its own that we were unlearned when it came to Christianity, right? We were unlearned. We did not know anything of this, okay? But I'm going to show you the next slide. This right here, what you're looking at is an export in West Africa, in Ghana. All right. If you look to the side, if you look in the middle, this is what is the Portuguese church.
Mm-hmm.
Behind it, you will see the tombs of where they kept the slaves. And that's where they split the men from the women and the women from the children. Now you can just almost imagine the screams, the cry, the babies crying, the women screaming, the men. It's just a horrible time period. But in the midst of all of that, they're having church right there in the middle of that court. Okay. This is when we were introduced to quote unquote religion, Christianity. Okay. Now these are, in every, like I said, I'm not condemning all white folks. There are good white folks among every generation of people throughout the history of time. And these are some of the Europeans who were confused and were dealing with obvious contradictions within the Christian faith. It says that which is known as the Christian religion existed among the ancients and never did not exist from the beginning of the human race until the time when Christ came in the flesh, at which time the true religion, which already existed, began to be called Christianity. That's powerful. Okay. It already existed amongst the ancients. Okay. Here's another one. When we say that Jesus Christ was produced without sexual union, was crucified and died and rose again and ascended to heaven, we propound nothing new or different from what you believe regarding those whom you call the sons of Jupiter, meaning the people of ancient Kemet. For when they say the Dionysus arose again and ascended to heaven, is it not evidence the devil has imitated the prophecy? This is deep, right? There was confusion back then. Because like I said, just like when you look at the civil rights movement and you see, white folks who have died during the freedom ride and stuff like that, there were people back then that was like, wait a minute, hold up. This is not making sense. Mm-hmm. I know I've done my research. This is not the story that they're pushing through this religion, is not the original story. So here we go. We get to Constantine, right? This is the origin of the beginning of the Bible. Not the what they say, the King James version. Okay. King James, he flipped it for himself. Okay. This is the original of the first documented Bible. 33 AD is the time Christ supposedly died. 325 AD is the time Constantine starts calls for the conferences. Now, when we talk about the conferences, these were conferences held to decide how they were going to orchestrate the Bible. What stories were they going to tell? What books were going to be involved in the Bible? How Jesus would be depicted. Okay, would he be depicted as a human being? Would he be depicted as the Son of God? All of these things. And there was a lot of conflict and confrontation. That's why if you look at 787 AD, it took over 400 years for the first Bible to ever be printed. Okay. At 1054 AD, the Roman Catholic Church emerges. 1139 AD, they begin to invade Northeast Africa, which was called the Crusaders, forcing their religion through war and terror. And everything I'm telling you right now, you can look up. Okay, this is an actual artifact of Constantine. Okay, it's 1517 AD. Martin Luther produces the Baptist Church, Methodist Church, etc., which was called the Reformation. Okay, so everything that you know of, this is via the Romans, the Greeks. Okay,
Right.
that's why your Bible was quote unquote translated from Greek and Roman to English, because it began with them. But I'm going to take you back to the greatest story ever told in the Bible. I'm going to give you its source. This is the story, and this is from an article of African Magazine. You can look it up yourself. Okay, this is an actual article. The story of Jesus is said to be taken from a man named Heru from Egypt, said to be African and born a virgin. Heru is supposed to be a story before Jesus. Who is Heru? Inscribed about 3,500 years ago on the walls of the Temple of Luxor were images of Annunciation, Immaculate Conception, birth, and adoration of Horus, which is the Greek form of Heru, with Thoth announcing to the Virgin Isis, which is a set, okay, that she will conceive Horus with Neph, the Holy Ghost, impregnating the Virgin, and with the infant being attended by 3 kings or magi bearing gifts. If one does the necessary study and reads the right sources, then beyond any doubt, he sees that much of the Christian history pre-extant as African Kemetic mythology.
Myth.
Okay? That's the key word, mythology. Now, before I go any further, let's be honest with ourselves, right? Let's be honest with the fact of the Europeans' obsession with Black culture. How they take it, take it for their own, but they don't know exactly what it is, so they do the best they can with it because they don't understand it themselves. When they took this story, they didn't understand that our ancestors did not make this a literal story. This was just them describing the best way they could as far as the creation. Okay? This was their best way of doing it. But even then, they knew that it was just mythology. Okay? But as you get into other religions, if you notice, it's literal. But if it's so literal, then why aren't the stories of the Bible coincide with what we learn in school as far as history? Why don't they use biblical stories as references for our learning history? Because the ancient Kemet and a lot of other civilizations were existing and flourishing around the time of what the stories of the Bibles was going on. Right? You have to ask these questions. These are the questions that I was asking myself. This picture right here is an actual artifact that you'll find in the museum, taken from Kemet, which we know now is Egypt. Okay. This right here, artifact in the museum. This is what they call the Black Madonna. All right. This is a set, the woman holding her child Heru. Okay. This is the original, what you now know as, or a lot of people know as, is Mary and Jesus, the Virgin Mary and Jesus. Okay.
Now, what I want you to do is to keep in mind the trauma and the conflict of what's generally accepted and known versus unearthing a bunch of information that the general population has been starved of, that has been kept ignorant of, has to your earlier point, our culture has been stolen, reshaped, created into something else, and then fed to the masses, right? And they do that today, right? Rap music is not it's not in the Grammys, but it's on every commercial to sell their goods.
That's right.
Right. They hate rap music so much that they want that part of our culture out of the limelight until it's time to sell their goods. So you hear it in almost, it used to be jingles that you would have advertisement people making up. Now they're just paying rap artists to use their songs. Nelly talked about how big his checks were from Cheerios, right? From General Mills. It's out there all over the place. So
right.
just keep in mind that what you're bringing forward is really foreign to a lot of people.
It was foreign to me. So
yeah,
foreign. It scared me.
Absolutely. Being raised in the Catholic Church, going through Catholic school until I got to junior high, and then going to public school where they actually taught African American studies at Shaw and then in Bartram. And that's where everything really started to take hold in my high school, because we had that class, and these pictures were shown, and the information that you're sharing now was exposed. And that's what caused my religious or my conflict with different religions, right? Catholic, then going to public school, and you're around Baptists, Christians, and all other different sets of religion. And that's why I never tried to raise you guys that way, because it caused a lot of conflict with me as a young kid, still trying to search and figure out. I knew the Bible at one point backwards and forwards, and could even speak some Latin, which is big in the Catholic Church, as you said, coming from Greece and all. But it's deep, so keep that in mind as you continue to share. But this is important and relevant information. So I applaud you for bringing it forward.
Appreciate it. And we're going to get to the Catholic Church as well, right? So, like I said, this is the sculpture of what they call the Black Madonna, right? These are portraits of it. Spain, Poland, Switzerland. Okay, the middle one is a portrait. But they're keeping these things. They're holding on to these things, right? Who is that? Mr. Pope Benedict of Germany, worshiping this Black Madonna, right? Our African ancestors. But the crazy thing is they're worshiping it as if it actually exists. You see, because the thing that you love to say about Kemet or Egypt, and they say it in the Bible, they worship many gods. They worship different gods. They were an arrogant people. They tried to build something so high that so arrogant they thought they could reach the heavens and talk to God or get to God, right? But once you learn that was not true and they were into mythology, it makes it kind of like baffles you of like, okay, so why is he worshiping? What it says, what is it called? No graven images,
right?
In the commandments. Idol worshiping. Does this look like idol worship to you? Right. Let's go to the next one. I know you guys know this next guy. Who is that? Holding that beautiful black sister. Look at him, and he's looking at it like it's a fried chicken, piece of fried chicken. Like I dare somebody to try to take this out of my hands. You better pack your lunch. It's gonna be a long day if you think you're gonna take this from me. Look at this. He's bowing his head to the portrait. This is the Black Madonna now, okay? This is being held, okay, in their sanctuary, okay? Look at him. Kissing the picture. See, they know.
Yeah.
They know.
And they don't publicize that.
They do not. Right?
The hypocrisy.
Thank you.
Sir. Yes, sir. So
what they do in private is different from what they do in public, right?
Right.
So when you come on, you're talking about this guy, the head of the largest pedophile organization on the planet. So whatever.
That's correct. So the next picture, like I said, we're gonna stay dealing with the Jesus aspect, Jesus and Heru aspect. So here we go right here. To your left, You go into the temples of Kemet, this is what you will see. To the left, it is a demonstration of resurrection. And to the right is a portrait of the resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, for the further example, like I said, these stories existed no less than 3,500 years before Christianity ever hit the scene. Okay. Before the first Bible was even printed. Okay. These stories already existed. So here's the next one. To the left is an actual artifact, the resurrection of the sun, S-U-N, the ancient Egyptian original, 2400 BCE. Okay. To your right is the resurrection of the sun, S-O-N, 16th century AD, 3,950 years later.
What color is his eyes?
Exactly.
Wait, what? Describe his hair. Just describe his hair for me.
Oh, it's straight.
What's his complexion?
Oh, white as butter.
So what I see there is a direct conflict with what I read
in the Bible.
That's
right.
So it's kind of like don't believe your lying eyes, or don't believe the words that you read and that you know to be true. I don't know. Again, you can see the conflict.
Exactly. When our ancestors touched down in many other countries, because the same thing happened in other countries, but we live in America, so let's deal with America. When our ancestors touched down in America, they were stripped of their name, they were stripped of their culture, they were stripped of their spiritual traditions.
Yes.
Now, as Black people, we can't get angry when we see the slave movies. We can't get angry of not getting our reparations. We can't get angry when we learn about the hundreds of years of slavery. If you do not even have the intent of going back and learning their cultural traditions, I'm showing you ancient cultural traditions. Because the first thing that struck me, that made me curious, was, okay, I see all these names in the Bible, but what were the names my ancestors called on? They couldn't have been wrong, right? Let's say for argument's sake that Jesus did touch down and in the time period that he did. So what happened to all our ancestors that lived before then? Did they go to hell? What about the people in America, the Native Americans? Did they go to hell when they died? Like so what you're saying is that thousands of years later, our ancestors didn't know any aspect of the divine creator, the essence, or what we call God. They didn't know him until these stories were told.
Preach.
You have to ask yourself these questions, because I'm always curious. Like I don't want the rip-offs. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I don't want to disrespect anybody's religion, like I said, but when it comes to me, I don't want the rip-offs. I don't want the hand-me-downs. I want the source. When it comes to knowledge, I want the source. Where did this come from? Right. So this was what I'm showing. It's what I'm going to continue to show you. This right here is a reference. This is from the coffin text. Okay. From Egypt. It is a book. You can look it up. You can, it's basically showing the similarities from the Bible and what was told thousands of years ago beforehand. But I'm going to go down to the part where it says at the very bottom, where it says, I am one who spits on wounds which will heal. This is in the coffin text now. Okay. Let's go to our reference, our second reference. Mark 8:22 through 26. What's on the line there? When he had spit on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, do you see anything? Is that story not similar? Jesus spitting, using spit to heal. All right. It's not a coincidence, people. It's not a coincidence. Also, what's not a coincidence is a story about Heru, right? After Heru was born of immaculate conception, okay, his mother was impregnated by his father, the spirit of his father that was murdered, Asar. As a child, he was struck by a scorpion and he died. and his mother trying to seek shelter during inclement weather. She kept going from house to house, and they kept telling her, we have no room for you here. What does that sound like?
Mhm.
What story does that sound like?
Yeah.
His mother, Aset, then called to the heavens, to God, what we call God, and he resurrected. He was brought back to life. And this picture here, which is what you can find in the temple, is Heru around all things that are dangerous and that can harm him, but it can't because he's been resurrected. Okay. He's holding the snake. He has all these things, these elements around him that could harm him. Now, again, like I said, when they talk about Egyptians worshiping many gods, different gods, and all these things, what do you see here? This is another example, right? When you deal with Christianity, religion, Catholic, whatever, you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I've heard people pray to the Holy Spirit. I've heard people pray to Jesus, and I've heard people pray to God. I see pictures and portraits of Jesus. I see pictures and portraits of what people may think is God and the Holy Spirit. But they say all of them are one, right? At the end of the day, all of them come from one being, right?
Mhm.
That's the same thing with Kemet. Okay, because here are their divine principles, representations of divine principles. That's what it was. It was divine representations of divine principles. They weren't actual gods who they worshiped. These were figures that they used to describe the different elements and the elements of the essence. Okay. So it's like you got 2 hands and 2 feet. Your right hand is a symbol for righteousness. Your left hand is a symbol for justice. Your right foot is a symbol for journey, and your left or right foot is a symbol for leadership. They divided that, and they give reverence to each aspect of it. But they all know that it's all connected to this one human, this one divine essence. It's the same thing. They just had more than what you see in Christianity, because once you get to, well, I'll show you later on. But who all knows what this is right here? Where do you see this at?
Mhm.
Courtrooms across America, right?
Right.
Lady Justice, right? Here's where we get her from. Ma'at. The first true lady of justice and judgment.
Wow.
Okay? If you don't believe me, I'll show you another actual artifact. In the middle, this is her as the scale. And in Kemet, they felt as though when you pass, you have to face Ma'at, and she will weigh your heart on a scale compared to a feather. And if your heart is not lighter than a feather, meaning that you have not done good things in your life, you will not go to the afterlife. Again, this is what they believed. Okay? This is another form of their mythology. They did not take it as literal, because they knew they don't know until you're out of here. You don't know. Okay? She's also responsible for the 42 divine principles that existed in ancient Kemet thousands and thousands and thousands of years before the 10 Commandments. And what I have underlined, okay, is the direct influence of the 10 Commandments. Now, just for argument's sake, for those who believe that Moses was real, I have no quarrel with you with that. Have none whatsoever. Even if you do, you cannot refute Egypt's influence in the 10 Commandments. Why? Where did he grow up?
Mm-hmm.
It's irrefutable.
Where did he grow up? Where did he learn? Where did he learn? He learned in Egypt.
Egypt.
You can screenshot this if you're on your phone, or you can go back and replay it. I'm not going to go through all of them, but what I have underlined, they correlate with each other. Okay? They're very, very, very similar. But I underlined the green one for a reason. I have not told lies Why is that not in the 10 Commandments? Don't kill, don't steal, no adultery, don't worship any other gods. But it doesn't say anything about lying. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Okay. But let's be for real. It could have it simply been all displayed as far as thou shalt not lie.
And January 6th was just a normal day at the
Right.
House of Representatives.
Right.
Senate, Congress. It was just a bunch of nice people. So this is probably one of the more powerful slides, because this one is kind of hard to. This is going to cause some conflict within some folks, because it's undeniable, right? When you think about the time period, one versus the other, it's if you connect the dots, I mean, your eyes got to open to it, and you have to at least start to question and want to seek additional information.
I know it's powerful because the comments are quiet. They're watching.
And
right?
that's great.
That's great. And I appreciate that, guys. Because like I said, this it's irrefutable. And like I said, everything that I'm showing you, you can go look for yourself. Okay. These are references that I'm showing you. I'm good with artwork, but I'm not that good to create this kind of stuff. Okay. I'm not. Okay.
You can get page numbers.
So who is this guy right here?
Charleston Heston, Moses, the great Moses.
Let my people go. Right? I got another reference from a scholar. Most histories of ancient Israel no longer consider information about the Egyptian sojourn, the Exodus, and the wilderness wanderings recoverable or even relevant to Israel's emergence. Most important is the fact that no clear extra biblical evidence exists for any aspect of the Egyptian sojourn, Exodus, or wilderness wanderings. And this is your biblical scholar at the bottom. Reference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? These are biblical scholars saying this. I got another biblical scholar for you. In case you say, hey, one ain't nothing. Okay, here you go. Why is there no evidence of the Exodus? According to biblical scripture, the Hebrews, led by the patriarch Moses, took his formerly enslaved people out of Egypt during the reign of Ramses II. The history of Ramses is exceptionally well documented, but there is scant evidence of any such event. Further, the scriptures tell us that Moses took his followers, numbering in the tens of thousands, on a 40-year trek around what we call in the Middle East. No archaeological evidence of any such diaspora has ever been found in any of the likely locations that his long event would have been situated, and no historical documentation exists from any of the many different peoples that such an event would have affected. Why is this? Canaan, the alleged eventual destination of the Hebrews, was under Egyptian control during this period, so their arrival there would certainly have raised eyebrows among the Egyptian officials governing the province. So according to the story, Moses took his people out of Egypt and took them to the promised land, right? Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Right?
That's what
Right.
The promised land that he took them to was governed by Egyptians.
That's in the movie that comes on TNT.
You know? So, but we talk about Ramses II, right? If you notice in the Bible, they don't talk about Ramses II. They don't name Ramses II. You want to know why?
Mm-mm.
This is Ramses II. This is the guy who supposedly raises Moses' stepbrother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Yep.
They had a bond. They loved each other.
Mm-hmm.
How is he found, but no history of Hebrews in Egypt?
One of those things
How
that
is he found? And I know according to the Bible, because my mom told me that in the Bible, according to the Bible, God hid Moses' body so no man can find it. But that's very convenient. So you cannot answer these questions. You cannot ask these questions and get an answer. But you can find Ramses. They lied on this man. Okay? Because he really existed. And, you know, like I said, did slavery, what do they call it? Prisoners of war exist in ancient Egypt? Of course, like any other nation. But I promise you, there is no documentation of Hebrews or any of the curses that went on as far as, you know, everything that happened in that story. There is Egyptians were known for documentation of every year, of every period, of every pharaoh ruler in Egypt, and they have not found any of it. Okay. Let's see what I can go to.
So there was a question posed here.
Is this from the Book of the Dead? What are you talking? I don't know what you're referring to. Are you talking about from the? Let's see. You're talking about from this quote right here. This is from the coffin text.
Okay.
But the Egyptian Book of the Dead does talk about this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's
I've got it.
Yeah, it does, but it doesn't go as deep as
Right.
where Derek's taking it. So it's more of a cursory view of it.
Right.
And the next thing I want to talk about as well, but I'll give you guys some examples of the cultural differences, right? Because on top of the things that Napoleon did, that's where you get Napoleon complex from, right? A person who hates something that he's not. It's not just about the hype thing. It's not about that. It's about hating something that you know that you can look at and realize that it's greater than yourself. Okay. That's the true Napoleon complex. Okay. They would deface our artifacts. Okay. They would knock the noses off, destroy any African physical features.
Right.
Okay. That's what they would do. Right. But on top of that, they would also do things like this. You see this cross? This is at that time is the Roman Catholic cross, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you say, oh, wait a minute now. Well, hey, Roman Catholics, I ain't got nothing to do with them. They crooked. I don't like them. Well, this is the early symbol of the Christian cross. Right here, the top. Circling my cursor around it. Right? As you can see to the left, though, they also chiseled out a female deity. Okay. Another temple. In ancient Kemet, look what they did. They painted their white culture over the walls in Kemet. If your story really existed, why do you have to deface the origin of it? Why deface it? There are people who will guard the picture of the Mona Lisa with their life. With their life, they will put their life on the line for the portrait of Mona Lisa. How could you dare deface this? Something that you could never replicate, right? But my last topic, and I'm gonna pass it over to Mom, is, like I said, the Western civilization, our viewership on our women. Okay, right here is Hatshepsut. She was one of the rulers of ancient Kemet. Okay. And this is unheard of in other cultures. Okay. But it's just the aspect of like when in Kemet, women had choices. They had options. You could stay at home, raise your children, take care of the household, or you could be a business owner. You can start your own business. You can do whatever you want, right? And then when you look at Kemet, there is no male deity, a male god without a female goddess as his counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not this male up here, woman down here.
Mm-hmm.
It's this. And I think in a way, Christian with the Bible, they tried to tell, because Mom brought this up too, and it's a strong point. They tried to bring this up because a friend of hers said this to her. People who believe in the Bible, where did Eve come from? She came from the rib of Adam, right? It's his side. She didn't come from his spine. She came from his side.
Mm-hmm.
When they say that behind every strong man is a strong woman, no, beside every strong man, is a strong woman.
Right.
She's not behind him. Okay. But
Again,
and I'm going to end with this, and I'll be done, Dad. I'll be done.
No, good.
This is from the pyramid text. Okay.
Hello.
And this is I'm just summarizing, but this is the original said creation of humanity. God says, I created myself out of myself. I caused existence to exist so that I might exist. Then God, which they called, which was their way of saying Amen, Amun, said, after I created all that my heart desired, I then expanded in it. Meaning everything that is also not only of me, but is me.
Is me.
And God said, once I came into myself to know thyself, I looked to the side of me and I saw the woman. What does that mean? She was there all along. I'm from the aspect, and I said my ideology is that we are all gods having a human experience. That's my belief. And if you're going to put the title of God on somebody, put it on the Black woman. She is everything that we know from the time that we are born. She is our life source. Without her, we don't exist. It is a scientific and biological fact that a woman can become pregnant on her own, does not need a man. Now, does it happen often? No, it does not, but it can happen. So women got it all. And before I used to be down on myself about sons, yeah, man, I got to have me a son. And I said, and I'm thinking about it, I said, wait a minute, man, with your ideology, you're responsible for 4 gods. You have a huge responsibility on you. And that is the most precious thing that you could ever have. Because be honest with you, why do men get nice cars? Try to make all this money. Try to dress fashion, nice and sharp haircuts. It's not so they can look good around their homeboys. It's so they can get that woman that they want. At the end, it all comes down to the Black woman. Even outside our culture, in the European culture, the Caucasian culture, that's why you got all this plastic surgery. I hate that my sisters are involved in it, but that's fine. Hey, whatever makes you feel better, I'm not going to get in the way of that. But that's why you see all these women with these white women with big lips, big butts, breasts done, because they following the prototype of Serena Williams.
Okay.
A Black woman.
Yes.
A Black woman who is dominant.
But who is also...
But we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. But I'm just saying,
we all two sides to that one.
Some of us that tiptoe, we tiptoe, but at the end of the day, we know what it is. And so, Mom, I'm going to turn it over to you. Okay. And I'll unshare my screen.
Well, I do want to say you brought forward a lot of very interesting information that I'm sure is in conflict with a lot of people, right? Right. But if it's documented and if it can be sourced as you sourced it, let them go fish, and hopefully they will begin to feed themselves.
That's right. It's undeniable, folks. Like I said, if you are looking, like I said, because if you're looking at the screen and you like, trust me, I was there. It scared me. I turned my TV off, but something inside of me said, "Nah, man, hear him out. Hear him out. Don't be afraid. Hear him out." And ever since then, I've been turned out.
Well, there's a ton more that you didn't even bring forward. It's just so much.
Yes.
But
Yes,
the
we'd have been here for
question,
hours and hours.
yeah, the question that everyone has to ask themselves, and if you ask yourself no other question, ask yourself how those 3,950 plus years before the Bible, what went on before then? Because the date of the Bible is actually documented. Everything in Kemet is documented. Those gaps were closed with inconvenient truths. They were closed with hypocrisy. They were closed with that doesn't exactly fit the way that I want it to fit. I'm going to reshape it, reform it, and put it in this format for people to absorb. So again, facts are facts, and anything there's no such thing as alternative facts. Trump believes there is, but there really isn't. Right. So I applaud you for digging deep, going deeper, and sourcing this information and then bringing it forward, because it's really vital for people to start understanding, our real, true essence of who we are.
And I got one question, just to have an open dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I would give you a irrefutable example of the Bible, because like I said, I don't think I said this. The Bible, from what they've gathered, the information that they put into the Bible, it was not meant for it to be pushed as literalism. Okay. Because once you get into literalism, then you have to explain to me the great flood of Noah. When I can go to Kemet and I can go through each dynasty, and there's no gap in between any time period. Because if a great flood happened, then you're going to tell me that Noah and his sons, or one of his sons, were responsible for creating a whole new civilization and picking up where Kemet left off.
And there's a question.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
That's impossible. So there's no, like I said, the ancient Kemet kicks everything out of the box. Because if you want to say so and so happened, they have documentation of everything that was going on around them and during that time period. So
I won't say that it kicks everything out of the box. What I would say is that it gives you more foundational information to interrogate that information that's contained in the Bible.
Yeah,
because they've connected enough of the dots to make it seem 100% plausible and reliable. See, that's the brilliance of what that turned into.
right.
Again, it goes back to the brilliance of, even though it's evil brilliance, the brilliance of taking a people from their homeland, raping them of their culture, stealing everything about them as human beings in the lives that they had, and then inflicting, because for me it's an infliction of your beliefs, and you're only teaching me what you want me to know so that I am subservient to you. Right. That's the true essence of their brilliance, is that, right? It was done out. It was hateful. It was spiteful. It was wrong. It was illegal. It was all things bad, but it was all things good from their perspective. So and we are still trying to dig out of that hole, and so many of us have, I guess, submitted to their cultures, to their beliefs, and not done the work that you've done. And you weren't taught in school this information that I was taught. So I applaud you for bringing it forward, but there's still so much more that folks, you can go in and just continue to dig.
Yes.
Trust me, your eyes will open and they'll never close. So we have Kathy Sly up next. Bring it. Bring it, sis. Bring it.
What I want to do, and like Derek said in the beginning, I'm not trying to change anyone's beliefs or what they might think about the Bible or any of that. I'm talking about my truth, my transition. And I want to start at the beginning. I was a PK kid. You guys know a PK, right?
Preacher's kid.
My dad was a minister. We started out in the Church of God in Christ. And it was church all day, every day type of situation. But my dad, when I was about 11 or 12 years old, he pulled us out of the church. And he said one of the reasons was, for the women, they couldn't wear nail polish, you couldn't wear lipstick, you couldn't wear pants. And my dad's thing, because my dad, he was very deep with the Bible. And he said, what did that have to do with God? He said, what does that have to do with a relationship with God? And he told me this. He said, your church is in your heart. And at the time, I didn't understand it. All I knew was I didn't have to go to church anymore, and I was happy. But anyway, but when I left him, I still felt like I needed God. I needed a relationship. So I left Church of God in Christ, went to Baptist, went to Evangelical Free. I did go to that religion. Then I came back to Baptist, okay? And I'm looking over here every now and then because I wrote stuff down. I don't want to forget. But I've always had problems with the church. I always had problems because I always considered myself to be a spiritual person. And I always knew that I saw great things in not just men, but also saw great things in women. And the church, and even in the Baptist church, they frowned on women pastors. They frowned on women teaching. They frowned on, women couldn't go into the pulpit. Then there's one scripture that says in 1 Corinthians, Paul talks about women should be silent in the church, and they should wait till they get home to allow their husbands to teach them. Now, this is all the stuff that was going on in my head. I'm like, this is not making sense to me. Anyway, and I understand that what Paul was talking about was the fact that they were in church, they were being taught, and the women was talking to their husbands, asking questions. And Paul was like, okay, women, you need to be quiet. Women don't need to talk in church. Okay, I got a problem for that. First of all, why can't I speak up? And secondly, why does my husband have to teach me? Okay. And Derek brought out another point was, a lady brought this to me and said, hey, always talking about the man being, in charge. And in the Bible, you find a lot that the Bible focuses mainly just about men. And when they show the different lineages in the Bible, it's all, this one begot this one begot this one. And every now and then they'll talk about a woman, and I'm like, something's still not making, sense to me. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, like this lady told me, said, hey, when in the Bible, if you want to go with the Bible, when God created Adam and Eve, Eve came from the rib. She didn't come from the back. She came from the side. Okay. So I was like, okay, I like that. So I wanted to know more. I've always wanted to know more. I've always wanted to say, what was going on before the Bible, before man put his hands into a lot of different things. Okay. And like I said, I've always been serious about spirituality and religion. And then another thing that really turned me off with the church was I saw a lot of performance. The pastor was performing, the choir was performing, the deacons was performing, the deaconess was performing. And it was just like a big show. Nothing spiritual. Now, another thing to be add in, not all churches, some of the churches that I attended. So a lot of that just put me on this quest. So I always wanted more. So thank God to my son. One day he came to me, he said, Mom, I need to talk to you about something. Because I didn't realize he was on this quest also. And he started telling me about, showing me, he just did a little bit at a time. And of course, I was like, oh no. I was like, no, son. Oh Lord, my son is a heathen. He's going, oh Lord, what's going on with him? But then I started, but things he was saying made so much sense to me, and I said, okay, Lord. I started praying. And I said, okay, if this is not the path that I need to be on, then you show me that all of this is wrong. And the more I prayed, the more other things started opening up to me, that I realized that African spirituality was where I needed to be. Okay, because I was just sick of the tradition. I was sick of, everybody playing games. And to me, that's how it was happening. And then I looked and I said, okay, the earth is 4.543 billion years old. Okay. Now, the first biblical story only goes back, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years. So I'm like, what happened before that? So my curiosity went up. And like I said, it was very scary for me. It was very scary for me because I've been in church all my years, and I've been taught, from one thing to the Bible. But then a lot of things that I was questioning about the Bible, I didn't feel, scared to question those things anymore. So, I started doing, I got into African spirituality. I started doing my research. I started, watching those scholars like Dr. Anthony Browder and Professor Small. And I can give you a lot of, these are known scholars in this information. And I realized that what African spirituality teaches you is to know thyself. Teaches you that you need to know yourself. You need to love yourself. Mm-hmm. If the Spirit of God is inside of you, then you're going to get to know yourself. You're going to get to know God. You're going to have a relationship. And it's all about being spiritual. And like Derek said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that's what's going on. And I was so happy that I found African spirituality, because then I started following some of the ideals of Ma'at. And under the she's a goddess. And the ideals of Ma'at teaches you truth. Know your truth. Teaches you balance, harmony, righteousness, justice, morality. It teaches you all those things. And so, like I said, I started digging and getting into a lot of things. I did my own research. And what I did was I would read books. And like I said, I just really got into the African spirituality. And I also learned how we must also honor our ancestors. Our ancestors are part of us. And a lot of people don't realize the myths of African spirituality is that, it's Satan worshiping and all of this kind of stuff, when it has nothing to do with that. Nothing at all. And like I said, I started realizing that the Bible talks about this great cloud of witnesses. No, it's a great cloud of ancestors that we are dealing with, And also I realized that my ancestors have always been with me. And even from when I was young, there are signs, there's symbols, there's dreams. All of this had been happening to me. And I didn't know what it was. And it scared me. I would see, on the clock, I would see 11:11. I see it during the day. And then at night, I'd see it. And I'm like, why do I keep seeing these symbols? What do I keep? And then later on, through my research and learning, they say that was it was our ancestors trying to communicate with me to let me know that they were with me, And I realize now, my mom died like 2 weeks after I was born. And now I realize, and I feel in my spirit, that's been my mother trying to communicate with me to let me know that she's been with me, And like I said, now, however, I still,
Hold on, before you go further, read that question. Can either of you recommend any books for one who may want to seek more knowledge on African spirituality? Because I know you got them.
Yes, I do. I have them here. One is the teachings it's called Tahotep. This is a very good one. And it goes through and tells you about all the different things about African spirituality. Also, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. That's a good one. But like I watched a lot of Derek, the things that you were doing. I watched a lot of
Sonetta,
Priest Jabari.
Mm-hmm.
He goes through a lot. And Professor Small is the one that really, really, really breaks it down for you. And all of that information is available on YouTube. All that stuff, you know. And also, I follow a guy, Dr. Ray Hagins. I follow him. He's very deep. So it's a lot of information out there. And I have some other books about the stolen legacy.
And
we could put that information in comments as well for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ray Hagins was a preacher.
He was a preacher. He was an ordained preacher. And he said that what happened with him, he started pretty much the same thing that happened with us. He started doing his research and went into finding out that a lot of things that, you know, that he was being taught and that he was teaching others, it just wasn't true. It does, you know, and a lot of people, like with the Bible, you have to really study and dig into that Bible, because even though the Bible might say a word, say love, it might mean something totally different from what you think love means. Because in the Bible, you talk about brotherly love, you talk about agape love, it's all different kinds of love. So you have to, even if you're going to still use the Bible, you have to really dig into that Bible to find out what the real meaning of those words are, you know? And that's why my next point is, however, I still believe that there are some truths in the Bible.
Plenty.
Because,
No, I was just saying plenty. There's plenty of truths.
There are some truths in the Bible, and I do follow those truths because, first of all, Derek showed you the 10 Commandments. Okay, that comes all, you know, from African spirituality. Then you have the ideals of Ma'at. These principles existed 2,000 years before the Bible. Okay, and they are in the Bible. Okay. And also, but I do not take the Bible literally. Derek talked about that. I don't believe in Noah and the flood. Okay. Noah, they said Noah, he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And then they said the 3 sons of Noah, from them came the people who scattered over the whole earth. Really? No, can't believe that.
Because who did they impregnate? Who did they impregnate?
Exactly. And, you know, like I said, I don't take the stories of the Bible literally. And that's something that what I love about with Kevin, you know, we've had these conversations. And what he does is he takes the stories of the Bible and say, okay, what can we learn from those stories? You know, how can we apply what's being taught from that to 2021? So that's how we come together on that, because you know my husband is a minister, but we have sat down and we've talked about this, and I told him exactly how I felt about all of this, and he understands that where I'm coming from with the Bible. And I implore everyone, it's we must do our ancestors right. We need to get back to our African spirituality. I put it like that. If we can get back to our African spirituality, I really believe we can do a lot better with ourselves. Because
I agree.
That's very important. So that's my but I have transitioned. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not into organized religion at all. I'm a spirit. I'm spiritual. I believe in the Creator. I believe in God, and one God, and I'm a believer. I just believe in God, and that's it. And I keep it spiritual.
So what are you practicing to compensate for no longer being a part of all of the traditions of what you used to be a part of? Like, if we're telling people, hey, for people who are taking what we are putting forward, like, okay, so let's say I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Right.
What should I start following or get into now? Like, okay. Specifically, what African spirituality traditions do you know of?
Okay. This is Kathy. Okay. This is my truth. This is me. First of all, I dealt with know thyself, and I dealt with me. I dealt with Kathy. I dealt with, who am I? Who are my ancestors? What is my lineage? Where do I come from? And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can find that out. I also honor my ancestors. I have a libation that I do every morning after I finish praying, and I meditate, and then I have a libation. And a libation, all that is you have water. And I go outside and I tell my ancestors, hey, it's me. I'm here. Let me know what I need to know today. And I honor them and I talk to them. And believe it or not, I do. I feel their presence, and I feel that they're with, all my ancestors are with me. And also, I pray a lot. I talk to God, and I let God know, hey, I'm searching, I'm seeking, I'm trying to find, the truth. I want to be, have a genuine relationship with you. What's the other things? Oh, and also I listen to the scholars and the teachers and stuff like that. And we talked about that. There's a guy, it's on YouTube. His name is Mooji, Mooji. He's an excellent one to teach you about meditation. And I follow him, and he talks to you about knowing yourself and taking you through all types of meditations. And I do that. And I read a lot. You got to read. You got to do your own reading. You got to do your own searching. You got to study. You just study. Same thing that you were doing in church. Well, you're supposed to have been doing in church. You're supposed to read for yourself. You're not supposed to just take everything your pastor say about the Bible. You're supposed to have been reading, doing your own studying, getting your own relationship with God for yourself. So same thing.
Yes. So when you say, know thyself, you're saying like, hey, get your blood test. See what your lineage is, and see what their traditions were, what their culture was. That's how you get into knowing thyself. Then you go on from there. Get to know yourself, know where you come from, get your native tongue back, get your native culture back. We got to go get it. They're not going to give it back to us because they already taken it from us. Yeah. So you got to go get it.
And you can go as deep as you want.
Yep. Or far back as you want. Far back as you want.
Because I went and did the ancestry thing, and I found out where my ancestors were from, what part of Africa they were from. And I did my and I found that out. And I'm doing, like I say, I'm truly excited. I feel free. I feel like if I do something wrong, the boogeyman gonna come and get me, and I'm gonna go to hell if I don't do this and if I don't do that. I just feel free. I really do. It's freedom.
Let me tell you about hell. I saw Satan earlier today. He said he was going home because it's too hot up here for him. It's like 90-something degrees up here in this humidity. But now those are all really, really deep and good points. And it's such, religion is such a controversial subject. There's just so many different thousands, and people might think there might be, 10, 20. No, there are literally thousands of religions, different in many, many ways, but also the same in many, many ways. I like you, I believe that relationship with God is very personal.
It's very personal.
I don't believe everything that I see. I don't believe everything that I read. I don't believe everything that I hear. But I don't disbelieve all of that either. I don't disbelieve everything I see, hear, or read as well. It's finding you, and then finding the information that speaks to you, that balances you, and that leads you on a path that you're comfortable following. Right? I'm not going to say anybody's right or wrong. I will say, this isn't it. What we learned on these shores, this isn't it. That's not it. No. That was fed to us. That wasn't even fed to us. That was forced down our throats. Exactly. It was almost like it was an IV in your arm, or a breathing tube shoved down your throat, and you had to accept what they gave you. If you tried to learn on your own, they killed you. Tried to learn how to read, they killed you, or they poke your eyes out, they blind you.
And that was a reason for that.
Absolutely, because they didn't want you to find that truth.
That's it.
You know, they only wanted you to know their truth.
That's
which,
it.
which wasn't our truth. And when you just take that simple concept, we as a nation of people were brought here, and everything that we acquired here was given to us on day one, not like as a token of appreciation or a welcoming gift or present. No, it was like, this is what you adhere to, and these are the consequences if you do not. So how could that be a genuine gift of religion, of spirituality? How could that be genuine when you still have a constitution that still says we're 3/5 of a human being? And I don't care what anybody says. I don't want to hear none of that nonsense. That should have been stricken a long time ago. Yeah. And I'll go back to our vice president, who I strongly supported, saying that this isn't a racist country. And see, when we don't, at the highest levels of government in this country, and at the highest levels of religion in this country, those religious leaders can't admit to that, then then this whole thing is a lie.
That's it.
The whole thing is a lie, right?
Yeah.
And so it continues to be.
Yeah.
You didn't want to give us freedom. Didn't want to give us rights. Didn't want to give us land. Didn't want to give us equity. Didn't want to give us any types of resources. But what you did want to give us is religion.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
You really think they were going to give us, our religion? No. It's
something
what they
benefited us.
We
to
everything
keep us
else
in bondage, to keep us a master, yes, massa, turn the other cheek, massa, all this kind of stuff. No.
Why? Well, you need to ask that question. Why didn't it take hundreds of years and votes and rights and bills to get passed for us to practice their religion tradition?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That was given to us before we even got on the boat.
That's right.
They was doing it at the exports here. Yeah, pray that you make it. You better pray to God, pray to our God that you'll make it from the next shores, or you better follow his doctrine, or you're not going to make it. You're going to die.
And these religious people harboring and carrying Christianity to these shores did that by killing the people that already existed here.
Right.
Wow. Just think about that.
That's it. That's it.
People who was already spiritual.
Yeah, you're a godly person, but you're coming here and violating the 10 commandments that you brought here. Right. Thou shalt not kill. This whole country was created on criminality. Mm-hmm. Period. From the highest levels, the criminality is an upside down pyramid for me.
Right.
When I look at it, it's an upside down pyramid.
Yeah. And I said, in my opinion, like I said, one of the many things that come from is hypocrisy. Religion is the hypocrisy in it. You can find different stories that they contradict themselves. Right. It's very hypocritical, The story of Job, well, God and Satan made a bet of how much Job could take, and he would still love him.
Yep.
And I think that where the scare tactic comes from is pushing this narrative that God is very involved in what things that go on. He allows things to happen, and then he stops certain things from happening. But if that's the case, then what you're saying is that God stopped caring about us, because where was our Moses over here in America? Mm-hmm. To lead our people here to the promised land. Mm-hmm. But no, okay, I know why. We're a cursed people. We deserve this. You get what I'm saying? That's where you get that inferior mentality. That's the first strike of it. When you grow up learning that your people are cursed, you are a cursed people because of something that happened thousands of years before you. Mm-hmm. So you stop asking questions. You stop wanting more for yourself, expecting more for yourself. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? You become very passive. Well, if God says it's for me, it'll be for me. No. From the time that you came out of that womb and you took your first breath and crying, everything is out there for you to go out there and get for yourself.
That's right.
You ask God or the divine essence for the strength to get through whatever you got to go through to get it.
That's it.
Because if you're going to say God gave this to me, you're going to say God gave me all these things right next to a person who don't have nothing. What are you telling that person beside you?
Right.
That has done nothing wrong.
Right. And then God has favorites.
Exactly. God favors us, but yet we curse. That doesn't make sense. It's hypocritical. And if he favors us, we don't get punished.
And if God's going to have any favorites, it would be us, because we were the ones created first. It was a people of color.
Goes back to what I said. Things that'll make you go.
Exactly.
Shout out to Arsenio Hall.
Yeah, give him a shout out. Hey, Tangi. Hey, look, really, really great information.
Yes.
Be excited.
Somebody wanted to call in?
See and hear how many people gravitate towards. I think people were just really, caught up in the discussion, not taking their eyes off of it. There's a lot of deep stuff, but the information is out there. Seek it out.
That's right.
Don't take any of this as being gospel. The facts are facts. Just go find it. It's there.
Right.
So that was kind of deep, family. Appreciate you guys. You guys have great perspectives and got a ton of information to back up your thoughts, your feelings, and what you shared. And it's up to each one to teach one. And some people will gravitate towards it, and some people will turn away. But if you've helped any one person get on a different course that may be better for them, great. If everyone still feels and still believes and still thinks what they did before this, that's great as well. But you also have put something on their minds because, again, irrefutable facts. If you turn away from that, just think about what you'll do with the rest of your life.
Right.
Even if you go and seek it out and you still don't get into it or still can't buy into it, at least you've educated yourself with different points and perspectives that eventually truth, it's only information that comes to the top. And so, right before we do anything else, I think I need to share that.
Right.
All right.
That's right. Know your history. Know history of all things. Like what you say, all history is what? All history is Black history. That's right.
That's true.
That's right.
Yes, it is.
We are the main character.
American history is Black history.
That's it.
All history.
All history is Black history.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Seek for yourself.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, family. Gonna sign off. Again, appreciate the knowledge. I really like seeing things that I learned in the 70s coming forward to our folks now, which is awesome and amazing. Let's just keep it going.
Yep.
All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you. See you on the next one. We are out. All right, family. We loved having you. We enjoyed coming into your living rooms over your podcast blast. Take care, family. And remember, click the like, comment, hit that bell. Come on back. We'll see you next time. We love your family. God bless.
I see
see a slave that's on a ship. His back is getting whipped. The great-great-great-grandson's a crip, that's a trip. A broken man with tattered rags, a one-way ticket up the creek without his bag. A color was his name, a chain was his claim, but the game was a 400-year reign that took that bar, lift that veil. 3/5 of a human being with the country for a jail. He was sold to his master for the highest bidder. 3 cows, 2 horses, and a healthy nigga. Bred like a thoroughbred with burnt face, lost in space, born to lose the race of race. A hood ornament in a vehicle called hate, doomed to dilapidate in the great United States, the land of the free and the home of the Indian brave, and a plan